We're going to be playing some Siege today, but with a twist. We want to make Trollololo as big as we can, so I figured we'd try this out. Now, I could have just played Inspired Zeal and put Trollololo in Inspired Zeal because he's good enough in that deck, but I actually recorded a whole set of games for that and made that video. But it's just really no point, because just Inspired Zeal Siege being the best deck in the game and putting Trollololo in, it's not very interesting, right? So, we're going to go here and play Stockpile, and just see if we can't make a giant Trollololo. The key cards here, won't go over the whole deck. The key cards here is we want to try and get Vysogota with Trollololo, so we get the charges every turn for the orders. And we want to try and get the Reinforced Ballistas. Idea being, we get the Ballistas out, we have King Renegade set up Stockpile Charges, and then we use a bunch of the Stockpile Charges to reset the Ballistas, letting us get a giant Trollololo pretty quickly. That's the idea. Rest deck's pretty standard, and let's go see how it does. Let's get into the first game here. And here's an opponent. Like I said, we could just be playing Trollololo Inspired Zeal Siege, and I actually did record an entire video of that. But he didn't really do anything special, right? It wasn't a Trollololo deck, it's just Inspired Zeal Siege is probably the best deck in the game. The deck just won whether or not he was in it. So I figured we'd try and actually make him the focal point of the deck. And that's what we're doing here. Now that'll be pretty hard, since every deck in the game is essentially some form of control at this point, more or less, right? So like this guy's going to have a bunch of locks and control cards. We have stuff like Heat Wave and now Vigo's Muzzle being everywhere. So kind of expect not much. I wouldn't say this is the best deck. It's going to be fun, hopefully, but I don't expect it to be winning everything here. Not that we care too much about that here. It's a game, we want to have fun, and we want to try and make this Trollololo pretty big. Now, I don't think Donmir of Troy is really going to protect us here. He might have to Invocation it, and there is the argument we could go for a push for a 2-round, or like win on even here. But it's really hard to actually do that because we lack the tempo, because we don't have Reinforced Vengeance. We'll play this again. Reinforced Vengeance is your big tempo card in Siege, right? You go ahead and sell Reinforced Vengeance, or ahead and sell it into something else, like the War Elephant deck, you go into War Elephant. But without those kind of cards, we can't get the big tempo play we need. So you could say, yes, we could go for Donmir or Vysogota, and then play Donmir, or Trollololo out of our deck and try and go for round 1 win with them. And go like a win on even with those guys. But issue with that is, we don't have a tempo play, so he just start passing. He just pass once we get that set up. That's the issue here. Now, we'll just try and, we'll obviously still try and win the round. We could purify the shield off with Boiling Oil, but I'm not too concerned about that card. I'd rather have our Renegade set up for carryover of the leader charges. Should be interesting here. But yeah, as far as the deck, we do have, I've made a shorter intro this time, because people tend to not watch that. This is the new format for the videos we're going to try out for a little bit. Make a shorter intro, and then if you want to see the details of the cards, the reasons we picked the cards, all that good stuff, I'll include that at the end. I'll just move that to the end, because people don't really watch that as much. It's actually the least watched part of the videos. Less people watch the deck explanations than they do the last minute of the last game, which is kind of weird, but people want to see the gameplay, I guess, so that's what we're going to try doing. Like I said, once we get any engine set up here, he's probably just going to pass. We got our Renegade. Let's thin out a card we don't really want, like Siege Tower. Siege Tower's okay, but it's not like a card I'm desperately wanting to have in the next round. And we have a thing we could do here. If we draw Siege, we could push. Our issue here is, in a long round, well, typically we want the long round. He does have 2 locks on his leader, which significantly weakens it. And we have our Donmir of Troy. Potentially, oh, there's Hansel. This hand's too good not to push with, I think. He did play Jean Calvi, so we'd be essentially trading gold cards here. We do lose our Donmir to Heat Wave or to Invocation, but I think we want to try and go for it here. If we can lose him to Heat Wave, it means we're safe to play our Siege. Alright, so he's playing Masquerade Ball. We have to force that out. There's a chance he Heat Waves this. If he Heat Waves it, it's unfortunate, but what are we going to do? Doesn't have it. Yeah, so Vincent essentially tells us this is Masquerade Ball in here. And with Masquerade Ball being in here, what do we want to pull out with We have the War Chariot as the only card we have to target with this. Let's play out the Reinforced Ballista first then. We'll go with the War Chariot from Henselt later on. Might be better that way. But yeah, since he's playing Masquerade Ball, we actually want to force that out. For sure. He's going to have... Okay, so he's at 4 locks. So everything we do is going to be locked, and our entire long round setup is going to be pretty poor. Vysogota is completely useless until he has played Ox and Serret. And let's actually... Should have put our Henselt melee, but it's irrelevant because he's going to die or get locked this turn. We know he has Ox and Serret in his hand, so he's just going to use the 4 damage to kill Henselt. It doesn't matter where we put him. It's not like he has any other play he would do. Technically, we could have put him melee, but there's no way he lets it live when he's got 4 damage like this, exactly. So it didn't matter where we put him. Normally do it otherwise. Like I said, we can't play our Vysogota until we've had both his leader charge and now the last of the trio gone. Otherwise, it just dies. It's a 3 for 8, which is bad. Winch might be okay here. This bleeding value is really the only engine value he's giving us. And ideally, we want to get 2 soldiers for our... what's his face? Oh, that's not good. We gotta deal with that. That's our lock target. But like I said, we want to get 2 soldiers and then use our leader charges for the Voltus Pride since it has Zeal. We're going to lock this guy. He can potentially become a problem. And hopefully we can make this guy regret not locking our War Chariot. But Vysogota is probably going to be a 3. Yeah, we expect this. This gives us... Okay, he's smart. Doesn't give us the crew setup. Alright, he's... At this point, he has committed to not playing ball. That's what he's doing. He's playing all these tempo cards, right? He's got 3 cards left. I'm pretty sure he's committed to not playing ball, which means that it becomes worse and worse each turn he doesn't play it. We could play Vysogota, or we can go for Donmir. Or not Donmir, we can go for Voltus Pride. I like Voltus Pride, and we get this bleeding. We do get the soldier setup, and now we can go for our Voltus Pride here. Fire this. We could have moved a little bit differently with our stuff and maybe got a couple extra points. But anything we use on our chariot, like anything we move, moves it out of Voltus Pride range. By not moving it, we waste the charge. That's probably roughly equivalent. Now, we know he has ball in his hand. He has to play it here. If he plays it, we pass. He's unlocked the Voltus Pride, that's fine. Vysogota's only a 4-point card. There's the lock. So at this point, we could pass or play Vysogota. If he has Artuad, he might be able to get away without playing ball. So we're going to play this. This 4 points should basically ensure he has to play ball. And his other card. There's the ball. And we blocked the melee row, so he only gets 1 guy. Well, that's a GG. Alright, good first game there. We didn't get to play Trollololo at all, which is unfortunate, and Vysogota played for 4. But you can see the deck's still pretty Is the deck still good enough to play, even if you don't get this combo off, right? It's not like a one-and-done deck. If the combo doesn't go off, you lose, like Archgriffin, for example. This is another control deck. Yeah, the last one was quite annoying. He had so many locks that we're never going to get our combos going. Here again, Reckless Flurry, we take a lot of damage. We could push here with Henselt or Siege early. I don't really like doing that with Siege. We could potentially with Henselt. But the problem is we're subject to so much damage, any setup we do will kind of get killed. And Donmir Troy is actually not great here, because since his leader ignores armor, we play Donmir, we get 1 leader charge, and then we get Junotted, and he's dead. So that's a little bit unfortunate. And let's keep in mind there's a Coral too. Coral is 4 damage. And he's at 2 out for 6. So anything we set up will die. Like, we can't go for a setup here. We can play Odrin, but then Odrin dies to Coral really, really badly. And he gets full value at everything. We might have to sacrifice him for that to find out if he has the Coral. We could also open with Donmir. Don't mind that one. It does block. Like I said, if he has the Junot, it's dead to a leader charge, which is not great. Let's see what he has. It's our only choice, though. This is our only choice. Any other engine setup will die. Without any engine setup, we have to give up the round. I really don't want to be giving up the round against a deck with as much tempo and control as this when we're playing an engine-based deck. It's a losing scenario. Essentially, I think if this Donmir lives, we're okay. If Donmir dies, a lot of this game comes down to whether or not this Donmir lives or dies, which is kind of weird. Honestly, if it's Purified, I'm not too mad, because if it's Purified, he can still take the random damage. We might have a chance of getting some setup. So getting Purified is not as bad as dying. So he could Leader it and then Vigo's Muzzle it. He could Leader it and Junior it. He could Heat Wave it. Those are all options these decks tend to run. If he doesn't have those, we do have a really good engine setup that I think will push him for a even on. Delirium is a weird choice. He's got the leader of this. He's not going to die. Huh. Okay. What? Not sure what that was about, honestly. But we won the game. I'm not sure why. It should have been a good matchup for him. Maybe he had a bad hand. It's possible that if he can't kill that Donmir, we win on even if he has a bad hand. And then we have a long round with an up a card, and maybe he didn't want that. I could see that being the reason why. On to Self-Wound Ursine Ritual then. Not a big fan of this matchup. Sigvald in particular is a huge problem because we actually cannot remove him. We cannot remove Sigvald because we don't have a Heat Wave or the Vigo's Muzzle. And that presents a big problem to us. So our only choice is to lock it with Margarita. And he has the option of reviving it. So if we lock her or lock him round 1 or round 2, we might have to deal with him round 3. We'll see. Either way, Reinforced Ballistas is a good setup here. We do have our Trollololo, Donmir, and Vysogota. I'd like to save those, if possible, for around 2 or 3. Because he does have good engines, and maybe that gives us a chance to rival them. We could also go for them here to make sure we don't lose the round. It all depends on what he plays. Which we'll find out pretty soon. At least I hope it's pretty soon. There we go, there's the Sigvald. Like I said, our only choice is really to lock this. And we might have to deal with it later. Now we can start damaging him, not our card. Our best case scenario is if he just gives up the round and we do a long round too. He could get a Melusine set up, and Melusine could be a big problem. Because we don't really have a way to deal with it, and the restore on her would be huge. So I think we might have to try and force out Renew round 2, which is kind of weird to say, but we might have to try and go for that. Because the Renew on our Siege is just too bad. We have to do this first. Oh, we should have used the leader. We should have used the charge. I was thinking we had to hit the Boiling Oil before the Reinforced Ballista charge, so we don't want to purify the Sigvald. We could have shot the Sigvald or something else first. So we lost 1 point there. We'll point that out. Not the greatest. Also, probably not a big deal. Second Ballista. This should be enough engine value to make him actually concerned. No, because he's got that guy. We might go for Vysogota here. He probably doesn't have a lot of control. Vysogota might live. We could also go for Trollololo. This would be a good Trollololo setup. We've got 2 engines going every turn. Then we need to play Radovid at some point, although we can wait. Oh, so he's concerned about something there. Interesting. I like the Trollololo. His armor could block damage. Let's put him here. I guess we kill Sigvald. It'll slow Melusine down. And then he'll stop getting the charges back on Melusine. Maybe. But Trollololo here should be interesting. Then we can go for our Vysogota next. Okay, that's a problem. We're going to lose a Ballista for sure. And we might lose on even here. Which would be really bad, but I don't know if we have a choice to not do so. Okay, so he's going to set up the Bloodthirst. There's Ceres. We do lose on even with 5 cards, but we're not going any further in this round. It'd only be detrimental to us. He's got the full setup for that deck going, other than Sigvald being locked, but everything else is set up. And he will get so many points per turn that we can't really deal with it. Unfortunately, that means we can't get rid of his Restore, which I would have liked. Restore's not really a card you really want to worry about most of the time. He's forcing out. But we have no way to kill the Melusine, and she will block a ton of damage from the Siege here, right? So Siege does a bunch of random damage via the Battering Ram, via the Ballista, or the Catapult. Trebuchet. How many names can I come up with for these things? The Trebuchet, and then the Boiling, or not the Boiling, the Bombardment. Wow, these names today. Okay, so there's the Melusine. We have the Donmir. There's no other choice here. We have the Donmir, Vysogota, and hope Vysogota gets value. Nothing else in our hand gives us a chance without playing Siege. We can use Odrin with the Foltest Pride, but we can get that going a little bit later. He's going to refresh the order. So I think Vysogota is the choice here. He gives us value. It is a very low tempo play here, which could get us in trouble. But Foltest Pride into the Siege Master isn't bad, and then we can use a leader if we really need to. Although honestly, we should have... No, we're fine. No, we didn't mess up here. Let's see what he does here, what unit he plays. It'll be Berna. Thankfully, no Coral. Let's see if he gets 2 discard fodders. Hopefully he doesn't. Normally you wait for them in your hand, but if he's pushing here, he might not. Just 1. Okay, it's not bad. We do have 3 charges on our Vysogota. So we can either Odrin or Foltest Pride here, or we can set up our Radovid. I like setting up Radovid. It sets up a crew here without needing the Siege Master. And let's boost some guys. Now, he probably doesn't have any removal outside of Heatwave and potentially Vigo's Muzzle. Which means that these guys are fine. He might have a Gunning Slash, you don't know. But he's not going to have any targeted damage to deal with Donmir of Troy if he hasn't used it already, because he would have used it right away. At least I imagine he would have. He might be different than I would play, but I think that's what most people would do. Alright, there's his defender. So, the question is, how greedy do we want to be for Siege? I think we protect our Vysogota here with a Marine. Now, at this point, we kind of can't play Siege anymore and double trigger it. But that's okay. I think Vysogota gets us enough points, and we have a crew for the Foltest Pride. We might be greedy here, but I think we have to be greedy. As if we're not greedy, we can't deal with the Melusine Restore. Okay, so he does pass here. A little bit annoying. We will go for the Foltest Pride. It's our only real choice here. Nothing else gives us enough points. The Siege Master draws. And let's fire this guy. Only 1 choice to target. Got these charges. Now, let's see. He heals 1, then does 2 damage, and then he gains the armor. I think that's how this will work, right? Heals first, then damage. Yeah. He could be playing Knickers, though. Knickers is a card these people play. Well, not all of them, but the last guy I played had it, so let's just not take that risk. Okay, yeah. So if he had a Knickers and the armor, and he didn't hit armor with the rain, we would have lost. Yes, he didn't have Knickers. We lost the leader charge for that. If we lose because of that, it's because we're paranoid. But hey, if you recently lost to something like that, you kind of remember it. Okay, Henselt here has crew cards. That's good. We can open Siege. Or we can open Odrin. Let's open Odrin. This might let him play something in the range drove. If you open Siege right away, they're not going to. There's a chance. Okay, so he didn't. What do we expect? Exactly that. Now, if he has the Heat Wave, he'll be using it right here. Let's see if he does. We should have, by the way, since we don't have Donmir of Troy, we should have played the Siege card itself in the melee row. Hopefully it doesn't come back to hurt us here, but by playing it in the range row instead of the melee row, we take up a spot for spawning our leader charges. So that could potentially be a problem. Usually that's never a big deal, but With something like this, we might actually want that space. We'll see. I always play it in the range row because usually you put Domineer there so you can protect the ballistas and the trebuchet it spawns. But if you don't have Domineer out, you don't actually have to. Just a habit. Like I think a lot of people have actually to play Siege in the melee row. You want to play, or the range row, you want to play it in the melee row if you don't have Domineer Troy, so you've got more space in that row. If you're playing Stockpile, otherwise it doesn't matter. Hopefully that doesn't come back to hurt us, but if it does, you know. Of course, if we lose by a couple points, it's also possibly because we were concerned about a Knickers that didn't happen. But I have been seeing him a fair bit, so it was something I was concerned about. I don't always keep track of the potential times Knickers comes out, because I don't know all of them off the top of my head. The Marindrome. I guess we would have been fine in Knickers anyway, but it's only because he hit armor with the rain. Otherwise, we'd have had a tie. Go for this. Like I said here, Melusine will get restored, so this damage isn't really important. Can we crew here? Let's go with the Carol Ballista. Do we want to crew? Just put it here. Henselt will get some points. Just don't hit Melusine. Oh, we hit her 5 times. That's not great. Let's hold off on this guy. I want the battering ram to not hit Melusine because any damage we do to her is actually just 0 and actually gives him points from restore. He's going to respawn in the rain. Let's start killing her. Hopefully we can stop him from getting the charge back. I guess we do use the battering ram. We're going to need space in the row. So I guess we go Siege Tower. We'll have to put this melee too. I was thinking we'd play battering ram once we got the crew on it, but we weren't going to be able to set up the crew because we have to go melee with our John Natalius. He's going to purify off our vitality. Interesting. Now, we could get the crew set up on our trebuchet also, but then we'll get set up and it'll start doing damage here. Which is a nice bonus. And then we'll go do this. Fire these guys. Kill her. Stop him from refreshing the order, although he really only has one more turn of doing that anyway. Let's go. We could play Winch here. Play the Winch. Reduce this. Do 2 here again. Alright, so if we lose this, it's 100% because we don't have the extra space in this row because we played Siege ranged. This is a good lesson. Remember that Siege can go ranged. You could have said you could have put John Natalius on the other side of this, but crew versus vitality makes no difference on this because it's 2 turns. We have the big points though, so we might be enough to get ahead of this Melusine. Restore. It's going to be close. Gonna be close. I think we lose though. Oh, that 1 damage might have done us in. Lose by 4. Okay. Yeah, we win that game if we put the Siege in the other row. We also... Yeah, we win that game if we put the Siege in the other row. We also have a better shot if we put... I think that's the only one. If we save the leader charge, it only gives us 2 points.
Anything in particular interest you?
Yeah, that just comes down to Siege not being in the right row in the end. Unfortunate. But it's a habit you get, and you always put Siege in the range row because you always defender that row. With Stockpile, I gotta remember to watch out for that. Good lesson. Not mad about that game at all. We deserve that. We definitely deserve that. Alright, let's look at the next one. Jackpot. Interesting. I've been seeing a lot more off the books than Jackpot lately, but Jackpot's still a decent deck. Well, I'd actually say it's pretty good still. Let's see, we can put the Veil here. Now, we do have to determine if this is Salamander or not. It's almost never Salamander nowadays, but you can never forget that it exists, because the time you forget it exists is the time it beats you. That's how it works. There's the Beggar. We could go for our Reinforced Ballista and actually kill this, so we can deny the Bonded if he has it. I don't mind that. It does make us vulnerable to the Professor without having to use its tribute. Normally, I like playing these range because the Professor has to tribute to get through the armor. It's just going to poison it. Let's see. Donmir Troy, we could use to block another poison, but I don't want to do that. It seems like a big waste. Let's set up another Caro Ballista instead. He's just going to fist stick this again, probably. Well, actually, he probably won't, because he'll overcoin. He'll probably play the guy that puts poison out. So then we can hit stuff with the Ballistas. Yeah, because he wouldn't want to overprofit if he had the other one. We'll fire this. Let's get Radovid going. If he passes here, we only get one charge, because we'll pass as well. That's not too bad, though, if it forces him out of the round. Here's the other beggar. Very nice. So, we did deny him the bonded there. Let's go with the winch here. This is getting pretty tall, but I'm pretty sure his only control comes in the form of... Well, tall removal comes in the form of poisons. So I'm pretty sure as long as it's a Veil, it will be safe from him doing stuff to it. Syndicate is one of the few decks that still typically plays Devotion, even with Vigo's Muzzle and Heatwave and Ownermancy in the game. And buffed as they currently are, especially the... Well, I guess just the Vigo's Muzzle's buffed lately. But those in the game, most people are actually choosing to not run Devotion. I see most decks not Devotion nowadays, like 80% or 90% almost. But Syndicate's one of the ones that still does like Devotion, because you got good cards like the Prophet 3 guy, you got your Junior active, so they tend to actually still run Devotion most of the time. And if they wanted to seize, they could always run Philippa instead of Vigo's Muzzle and have more flexibility and reach on it anyway. So I'm pretty sure that he is a Devotion player. And with all that said, it means that our Veiled guy is actually just safe from everything. Because it can't be bountied, so he can't more release it, and he can't be bountied then damaged. That'll be the end of this round. Did get both our charges from Radovid, so that is nice. I really want to get Trollololo's combo going. Trollololo, Donmir, and Vysogota. There was no guarantee we were going to get the combo. No guarantee. I did actually get it to work before recording this, so I guess if you're this far in, by the way, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and really like when people do that. It's helpful, like knowing what you guys like knowing what you guys dislike, and options you guys want to see. So that's important. But like I was saying, maybe I don't know what made me think of that, but I did. Yeah, I'm not sure what made me think of that, but before these games, I always record a couple other videos. Like I always play a couple videos I don't record to warm up with the deck and stuff. Well, I usually do. And in this case, I played one right before this where I did get before recording this, I did play one where I got the Trollololo combo to work with Vysogota and the Ballistas. Unfortunately, the guy timed out every single turn, and it was a 25-minute game, so I did not include that in here. I did record it, but it's more than half the length of this video for one game, and I didn't put it in, because that's not worth it. Alright, we will push with the Siege here. He purified us, so there's no point, and we learned our lesson. See this? When you make a mistake, learn the lesson. We played the Siege in the range for last time X because it was a mistake. Learned, and now I put it in melee. However, he had a Heatwave for it, and he had to Purify, so that's unfortunate. However, even without that, without the Siege, we still have a really good long round push here. And I want to get rid of the Svala. Because if Svala lives, we cannot win a short round. Also, Svala is really good in the... Like, his deck's not bad in the long round. But yeah, even if we, like, do well in the long round, Swallow's just so many points on one card. By the way, here's what I'm talking about. This is why I like playing him ranged in particular. It forces them to pay the tribute on the Professor. That being said, he does have King of Beggars in his deck, but the King of Beggars Svala is just too much. Like, even if we get ahead by like 15 or 20 points in a long round, which we shouldn't have a problem with, it's too many points. It usually ends up winning anyway, so we just don't want to deal with that. Voltus Pride here. Now, ideally we go with Trollololo next, or we can go for the War Chariot. War Chariot gives us points on Hensel and the Bleeding, but it have to be melee, otherwise we don't get the crew. Trollololo is a soldier, though. Maybe we could use him to set up a crew. By the way, fun fact, he is a soldier. Trollololo is a soldier. If you ever need a crew and you're playing with him, you can use him for that. It's kind of strange that you... Yeah, it makes sense, but it's... You look at him, he's a troll, you wouldn't think he's a soldier. But anyway, let's see. We can go for another setup here. Let's do it. We can go for the Vysogota. Let's just... It's risky, but let's just go for it. It's a really bad card for him to seize with the Philippa if he's running Philippa. However, we do have the movement from our War Chariot, so we'll find out if he has the Philippa. If he does, that's unfortunate, but not much we can do about it. And here comes the machine gun. Let's see, we're going to lose Vysogota. Not surprising, we're going to lose Foltest Pride for sure. And we might lose the Trebuchet again with the names. Not a Ballista, not a Catapult, it's Trebuchet. Should know better, I've built Trebuchets before. Let's see. Do we lose Foltest Pride here? I'm sure we do, right? There's no reason he lets Foltest Pride live. Foltest Pride lives, this guy's going to pay for it. By losing the game, probably. He's debating it. He doesn't want a leader, but he's going to have to. Alright, I think that's good for us. Okay, I lied. That's really good for us. I know it's good. We will do this here. We have the crew, move and bleeding. Now we can't spend the coins from that to damage us. And we have potentially a bunch of points. Trollololo won't be great, but it will be okay. Really won't be bad. Now he's going to have to leader, and now he can't kill the Foltest Pride, which means he gets so much value from these leader charges. There's going to be Swallow here. I don't know what other spender he might have. He might have a Sea Jackal or something. You never know. Well, the Sewer Raiders. His hand's not looking great here, so hopefully Trollololo can get pretty big. Let's put him here. He's a soldier. Let's just put him here. Just in case there's a, whatever its face is, Yrden. There probably won't be, but let's do this here. We could have waited, but there's a chance he has Philippa or something, and I don't want to wait. Plus, it lets us get bleedings out here from our War Chariot, and they'll give an extra point here. Like I said, we could have waited till next turn to do this, but there's a chance he just Philippa's it and he needed the coins for it or something like that. Unfortunately, this bombardment will... Well, this bombardment's pretty much guaranteed to kill the... Yeah. Okay, we got him here. We got him. This is what you get, by the way. Oops. I just wanted to make Trollololo big. The video is about Trollololo. I'm not trying to bad manner you, guy. I want to make Trollololo big. I want to click on the ability. Whatever. Oh, well. He was going to be big. No offense to you, guy. GG. We'll go on to the next one. This might be the last one. We'll see how long it is. Imposter. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not really sure what this would be. This might be our only shot at getting this combo to work out. Although I'm very glad for the sudden disappearance of all the Onslaught decks I was playing earlier and yesterday. So many of them, and it's a really bad matchup. Well, it's not really bad, but it's no fun because they just kill everything. And if they don't kill your stuff, you win. If they kill your stuff, you win. I mean, it's not like other decks where you have a chance to, like, for example, what's it? Ursine Ritual, right? They can remove our stuff, we can remove their stuff, and we both have a chance to win, right? We still have our own engines, we have our own cards. Oh, it's Madoc. Great. I was just saying we might have a chance to use the combo. Yeah, there's no way that's going to happen. He's got the Letho, too, so hopefully we can try and stop the Letho with these Ballistas and stuff, and maybe deny him getting the second one for a little bit, but there's no way we can actually deny it forever, unless these both live, which they won't. He's dead. We could bombardment this. It might stop him Lethoing it, but we also give up our own development of engines. Let's just play this. It also gives us a turn where we know he's not going to bomb, which is helpful. So, like, we give up a turn. There's no way he's not going to get that off. We get a turn out of our stuff here. Let's go for the Carrick Marine, and let's buff our engine here. Yeah, essentially we traded him getting his second Madoc earlier for another turn of setup, which isn't too bad, but with this much control and our deck being so heavy on engines, I think it's just too much of a good matchup for him to actually lose this. But we don't want to just give up. The damage on this Ballista is kind of meaningless, because he's going to click the Madoc. What else can we get out here? I probably want the second. Yeah, the Reinforced Ballista is pretty good. We can go melee, we can kill off the Madoc again. This does put a unit in each row, which is unfortunate, as now his Madoc will always be able to put the Cataclysm on a row with something in it. But I think it's worth it to keep some pressure up with these. We could have put it ranged, but then our Ballista doesn't do any damage. That might have been smarter in the end. But I don't think he has many bombs left. And we got to be careful about the red haze. Although, honestly, we have to play the War Chariot melee anyway, so if he has a red haze, we're going to lose one of our engines. This is just going to be what? Okay. We just don't want this at the Reinforced Ballista. Okay, that's not bad. Let's see, we could War Chariot. We could also Bombardment. Let's go War Chariot. If he has the red haze, he's going to play it, but there's not really anything we can do about that. We'll lose our Reinforced Ballista if he has it, but next turn we can go Bombardment maybe. Yeah, he has the red haze. Okay. Let's see here. We can go for the Bombardment. We do have 2 siege engines, and it gets the order back on our Ballista. Unfortunately, it did exactly the only thing we didn't want it to do. Where now both of these Madocs can click their abilities and absorb the damage. That being said, he's played a lot of bombs and might not have any left, so we'll see. The reason we didn't play Vysogota, by the way, is it's a 3 and he's playing a bomb deck. There's no way it lives through anything. Our Ojin wouldn't have been bad to put by our Ballista earlier, maybe get some armor to block some stuff, but instead we were trying to set up our own engines. It's a trade-off which one we want to go for. I think setting up our own stuff was probably better, but we'll see. That's annoying. Good for him, though. So we do have the movement and 4 bleeding. The question really is, how much does he want to commit? This might be the turn for Odrin. We go Vysogota, maybe. He might be out of bombs. He didn't bring back the Madoc, and he didn't click the second one, so actually I think he's out of bombs. We'll go with Vysogota. He might Amnesty it, which would be really bad, but I don't think you run Amnesty if you have bombs. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this, because Amnesty is a huge threat to take Vysogota. However, if you're playing bombs, I don't think you can fit it. And it looks like you're right about that, at least for this round. Okay, so now we have an option of pushing or not. It depends on what we draw. We can't push without siege and 2 siege machines. I give me 1 siege machine, because we need the... Ooh, okay, now this is where it gets interesting. Henselt would be better than the Ballista. We don't have to push, so I think we try and draw him. Okay, we did. Okay, we put Odrin back, by the way, because Odrin is really good for setting up here. I think we go to round 3. Odrin's good for setting up the crew. If we're going to play our defender, and we have Henselt as well, I don't think we need him, and I'd rather try and have these other cards. He thins his deck. Now we have Last Say. And there's the Madoc. He's played, what, 4 bombs in Madoc? And thinned his deck, so all of his gold cards are still in his deck. He's got a bunch of good cards left. Question is, what are they? We do want Radovid, Foltest Pride, or Trollololo. This is not a great draw, honestly. I think that was our only crew target for our Henselt. We're not putting Henselt back in, and if we put Ballista back in, we should have put Ballista back in. Well, if we put it back in, we needed it. We need all the engine cards we can get. I mean, a 1 out of 7 chance that we draw into it isn't... It's not a lot. It's probably worth it going for the draw. Like I said in previous videos, I tend to be too conservative on redrawing. Or should just try and redraw more often, and we're trying to do that still. Didn't work out this time. Sometimes it does. However, whatever way we got here, we now have a 3-point Hensel in our card with no deployability. And he stole one of our cards, and hopefully he's probably doing some kind of illusionist thing. What's he going to bring back? The pikeman? Fantastic. We could Donmir and then Siege. I mean, what else are we going to do, right? Now, if he's playing Vilgefortz Renegade with the bombs, there's a chance he doesn't actually have Invocation. I got a small chance. But he probably doesn't have Heatwave and Invocation. Yeah, we're going to lock that Vysogota. That's not happening. If he has a Purify, we could have a big problem. So we just kind of hope he doesn't. And we are delaying our setup of Siege here, which is a little bit annoying, but we don't have a choice. We can't let Vysogota get going. Especially when he has probably things that play more than one card in a turn. So, like this, for example. Ownermancy, and like he would have gotten 3 or 4 Vysogota charges here. I think 4, actually, yeah. He gets this, he gets this. What's he going to bring back? Probably Reinforced Ballista, because his armor. Might be Carol Ballista. Or the Pikeman. I think our engines were better than his. But he picks what he picks. Now we put our Siege ranged, and we'll fire this off. Now the question is when we play Hensel, because we could try to use him as an engine, but he plays really slowly, and we have other engines. There's the Purify. Both of the Madocs back. Quite annoying. Foltest probably doesn't have the crew easily here. We could play Trollololo out of our deck. No Radovid either. Drawing is, our drawing skill was pretty low this game. Let's just say that. Our drawing skill was low. He doesn't need the bondage for his soldiers to do much. But with the bombs, he probably can remove our engines here, which is annoying. Although, again, I'm questioning how many bombs he has left. Even if you have the double Madoc, bombs aren't better than most of your gold cards. The thing is, he hasn't played a lot of gold cards yet. Okay, so Trebuchet, we need crew. We could actually get crew. If we play Odrin, we could get crew in the Trebuchet. Maybe it snipes the Pikeman, but that's not something I'm counting on for sure. But we really do want this Odrin coming out, so when we play Foltest Pride, we can go for the Zeal. Okay, there's Treason. That's annoying. And he does have the option of impostering here and get his own defender. It's Odrin or Hensel. The thing with Hensel is we would play him if we had a good setup for him, but we just don't. And then he hasn't played Invocation yet. I think we want to finish with Foltest Pride. It'd be pretty funny if this just snipes this guy. Nah. Didn't expect it to. It would be funny. Well, not funny. The reason we're holding on to Foltest Pride is because as a finisher, it gives us more value. Alright, it's our best way to finish. I want to play Trollololo probably first. Maybe something else. Trollololo's not going to give us a lot of points. There's his second guy. There's the Golden Froth. He's going to get a pretty big lead here, but I don't think he has any bombs left. Which is nice. And we could go for the Foltest Pride here. I think we will. We can remove a lot of points from his board. And it would really be nice if we had a King Radovid, but we don't. So we'll fire this. We'll move this back. Do this. We have room for 2 guys to spawn in our range row. Yeah, we got room for 2. 1, 2. We remove the bonded. Or we can just hit this, actually. Yeah, we'll hit this. We didn't remove the bonded, but we got to move our guy for an extra 3 points. So that's better. Now, if he has a bomb, he's definitely playing it here. I don't think he does, though. Yeah, our draws are really holding us back here so far. Let's see what he does. Like, we have a fair amount of points here. Like, a fair amount of a lead. But the thing is that I don't... Okay, good. We stopped that from being crazy. He's playing this type of deck where he's actually spawning a bunch of engines, so I'm not convinced he has good finishers. And he probably doesn't Artwad into Domir of Troy as his best finisher. He's going to make a Fultis Pride. That's annoying, but we knew that was going to happen. We lost the Reinforced Ballista there. Wow, he probably sings around me. The Trebuchet. Trollololo's not great. We don't actually have anything to cool down with our leader. So Hensel would get an extra point off of this guy, but I think Carrick Marine's just more points. Play this here. Let's boost this, because we definitely want that guy to live. We'll move it here. If he kills something in our ranged row, we can now use our leader charge to refresh our battering ram, which would be really good. But it's in heat with the battering ram. Yeah, if he hit the armor there, we win the game. Unfortunate he didn't. Also unfortunate his RNG from the Cataclysm killed our Reinforced Trebuchet, so this actually was like a tie. Oh, well, GG. We'll have a draw here. Getting into the deck here. I mentioned in the beginning that I'll move this to the end. It's in the end of the video now. Most people don't watch this, so I'll just put it here for those of you who are actually interested in the thoughts behind the cards in the deck. And if you're not, you probably won't see this, so it doesn't matter. As far as the deck, I do like Crystal Skull. The Veil is really helpful because a lot of decks, especially Syndicate, Syndicate in particular uses poisons, but there's actually a fair amount of locks running around right now for stuff like Sigvald and cards you can't really damage to kill. So locks are more popular, and Crystal Skull is a good way to deal with that. Siege, Amphibious Assault, King Council, and those are very standard. Now, we are running King Radovid. You could swap Radovids for something else. If you look at we were playing Devotion, by the way. If you want to play a higher provision card in Devotion, you could go for a War Elephant. I did make a War Elephant deck previously. He is actually pretty good, in my opinion. You could also go for more of a control approach. You could go for the Bloody Baron, not very popular right now. And if you're feeling pretty lucky, you can go for a Rafard's Vengeance and use it's a very, very good card. So you can go with Rafard's Vengeance, but if you are, I think you want to run Vess and try and get Vess going with hers ability. And then I think you also probably want one of the Siege supports, because you're not going to get Rafard's Vengeance to go every single time. Even with Crystal Skull, if you Crystal Skull it, they might Heatwave it. But we are playing Domir of Troy as the defender, so there's actually a pretty decent chance you can get the Rafard's Vengeance to work. And if you don't like King Radovid, you can go for the Rafard's Vengeance. I opted for King Radovid because I want to make Trollololo get pretty big, although you did see we failed on that account this time. I did get a 22.1 earlier, but that was the game I wasn't recording, unfortunately. So yeah, Trollololo we want to get really big, and if we have extra stockpile charges from King Radovid saved up, potentially we can do that better, and that's why we're running him. We have Domir Troy for defender. The thing is, he's not very effective as a defender, because every deck in the game essentially has a way to answer him. There's a lot of heat waves going around. There's a lot of Vigo's muzzles, so if he takes 3 damage, or if he takes a damage, they take him. That's just a problem. There's also a lot of purifies going around, so he doesn't do a great job of defending, but sometimes I just want him to work out. If he does defend, you can get the combo up going for a ton of points. He got 100 something earlier. However, just keep in mind he probably won't actually do much defending, although if he tanks a heat wave, you know Siege is safe, so that's nice at least. Fultis Pride's amazing, especially with resupply. Vysogota. Vysogota, again, a card that's just in here to try to make Trollololo good. So Trollololo gains it gains 1 armor whenever your friendly unit uses an order. And you lose the armor to gain the boost of myself. Vysogota is the single card in the game that can gain the most charges per turn. And then each of the charges counts as an order. So we have him in here. Really want to get Vysogota and Trollololo going together. You can save a bunch of Vysogota charges. You can get a ton of points. And then you just give a bunch of armor to Trollololo. And then you can click Trollololo's armor and boost him. The nice thing about Trollololo is that you can save up all the armor and then click it as the last one. So if they have a reset, you can dodge that. If you have it last say, I kind of like playing a deploy because he does have Zeal, but you don't want to last say him, obviously. You can set him up to get his boost. And there are several engines in your deck the opponent needs to deal with. They have to deal with your Fultis Pride, they have to deal with Vysogota, and they have to deal with Trollololo. So with all that in the defender, hopefully it lives and you can get him to get some good value. You could just throw him into Inspired Zeal Siege, which is what I did earlier. Fully recorded that video, and then it was just Inspired Zeal Siege, which was pretty boring. I did win every single game, but It wasn't showing off Trollololo very well. Although, I guess in fairness, we didn't show Trollololo super well here today, except in that one game where he quit before he could click the ability. It's okay. We tried to make Trollololo work. He's actually not bad. You could just put him in Inspired Zeal Siege if you want to use him. He's not bad there, but I want to try and make him really big, and that's this deck. War Chariot is amazing. War Chariot used to be the siege engine I sometimes put in. Now something I always put in. The movement's become more valuable. The resupply really helps it out because the bleeding, it gives you more than 1 point a turn naturally if the bleeding gets its full duration, and you get more and more bleedings, and the movements become more valuable. Margarita for the luck. It's really our only immediate answer to stuff like Sigvald, which is a poor matchup for us. We want something to deal with that, so I have her. There's also the option of going for reinforcements. You can go reinforcements, and you can go Queen Adalia as well. If you want to go, should have mentioned her earlier, if you want to go all in on the Trollololo, Queen Adalia and reinforcements make you more Reinforced Ballistas, which allow you to potentially get a bigger Trollololo. I thought that would be a little bit too greedy to go for. Maybe you should have. It might be interesting. You could use that instead here. Ursine I've come to really like. His ability to act as a full crew is handy, and especially when you're trying to set something up like Fultis Pride. But you can play him to give something else the crew ability, then next turn you play Fultis Pride, and you start firing with it. Very nice. Sometimes in previous decks, I would have to play the Fultis Pride next to a soldier, use the Stockpile Charge to spawn the second soldier, and then start firing, which basically wastes a cooldown on the Fultis Pride. So having Ursine as the one-man crew is really handy. And as a 6, he's pretty hard to kill, and his ability doesn't actually gain you too much. Most people aren't going to try and focus on killing him, although he does give you a lot of value in the long run anyway. 1 boiling oil, could run 2, could run 0. It's preference. Just be careful that you don't purify a locked card from Margarita by accident. We have the Caro Ballistas. I like Caro Ballistas. I used them even before they got the resupply. Now they're just better. We have Reinforced Ballistas. Still really good. These are the ones you really want to be focusing on with Vysogota for your Trollololo. Kind of hard to set up, but if it works, it works. Bombardment is a warfare card. The random damage is alright. You can get this to be pretty good. You could run a second one if you really wanted to. You could run none. I think one's pretty good, though. I'd usually run at least one. It's handy, especially if you ever run into something that you can't target. That's like weak. Saskia Commander, for example, might start taking damage from Siege, and then you can finish it off with Bombardment, or the Bombardment from the Siege, although that's pretty unlikely. You'd have to remove the other stuff first, but it's an option. Winches are really good. Normally you'd use Winch on something like the Reinforced Vengeance, but we don't have that. We're mainly using it because it's a warfare card, and the card I most often use it on is the Caro Ballista. So use Caro Ballista's Order, Winch it, and use it again. It does 4 damage. The access to 4 targeted damage is pretty handy, and then it triggers all of your resupplies. Without the Reinforced Vengeance, you might want to cut this down to 1, but it's really handy just to have the warfare cards. 1 Siege Tower. I tried 2. I tried 0. I like the new Siege Tower. I wouldn't go out of my way to run it. If you are going for the, what I mentioned earlier with the Reinforced Vengeance and the Vest, you probably cut one of the Winches, by the way, or the Siege Tower, or the Bombard, one of these cards. So I think you definitely want the 2 Carrack Marines and 2 Siege Masters. Carrack Marine is the strongest tempo play you have off of Amphibious Assault, which is very handy to have. And you can also preemptively play him with the Amphibious Assault at an 8, and then use him to buff something. That's something I do quite a lot. If you don't have a setup for the Defender, and you want to play your Vysogota because he's so vulnerable, you Amphibious Assault into the Carrack Marine. It's an 8, they probably won't kill it. Denying its order with a Heat Wave or something is questionable, and then when you play the Vysogota, you buff it by 4. That's always an option you can go for. But this is the deck. Like I mentioned, there are options with Reinforced Vengeance and Vests and the Siege support. You'd probably remove the King Radovid. You'd probably remove the War Chariot. Although War Chariot's really good. You remove one of, probably Margarita, and then you drop one of the, probably Boiling Oil. Probably do that. This goes to the Siege support. Drop Margarita, you put in the Vest, and then you put in the Reinforced Vengeance instead of King Radovid. That's one option. Another thing you can do is you can go for Queen Adalia over Radovid. You can go for the Reinforcements over Margarita, and then go for a heavier focus on the Reinforced Ballistas. And that's pretty much all the choices I could think of, other than like single text, right? You could always just put in a Reinforced Vengeance and hope it lives behind Defender. You do something like that. But that'll do it for this one, guys. We didn't really get the Trollololo to be super big. We tried. Didn't quite work out, but the deck's not terrible. You can still win. Obviously, if you just put him in Inspired Zeal Siege, he would be better. But that's no fun, right? We don't want to be doing that. But that'll be it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.